I was going to say Sunday. It's technically Monday, April the 8th, or unless you're on Central Time. April 7th, April 8th. We'll go with whatever. Wrestleview Live number 55. We're here to talk about WrestleMania, everybody. And before we are joined by some special panel guests, Doug Lackey, Roy Nemer are going to join me for, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long it goes. But first, we want to talk to two individuals that were at Metlife Stadium tonight. They are just exiting Metlife Stadium. There's a lot of commotion in the background, so this should be a fun time to listen to them navigate back to their transportation. I am, of course, talking about Mike and Victoria Tedesco, the hosts of Post Raw here every Monday. Of course, Mike is our official Monday Night Raw recapper. And let's go talk to him. Mikey, are you there, sir? In the bowels of
I am
MetLife.
Here, Adam.
Where are you at right now? You're in the bowels of MetLife Stadium, or where are you at?
I'm right by where the superstars are coming out, and that is blocking us from getting to our car right now. Apparently, I parked a little too close to the superstars.
So
everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's Titus O'Neil!" Like, who cares? Just keep moving.
All the buses are lined up, and that's funny. That's good.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Oh yeah.
So I have a little photo of you and Victoria up on the screen here from inside the stadium today. So I guess we'll hit some quick stuff here, but how long of a day is this for you when you decide to go to WrestleMania, park, get your seat, and then right now, like how many hours is this for you?
Well, that picture was taken about 2 years ago, it feels like now. It's been long. I've celebrated 3 birthdays during this WrestleMania, and I'm not feeling too good right now.
So
I lost my voice a long time ago.
I know you sound like Michael Cole did towards the end of the show, but you go to a lot of these shows, man. Like at some point, do you get burnt out on attending live because the big stadium? I mean, like obviously it looks really cool on television, but it's different to actually be there live and attended. So
yeah. You know, this is my 6th WrestleMania, probably about, I think my 60th WWE event. Actually, I have to go home and count and see what I come up with. But I think it's close to 60. You know, I was amped up for this show, and you know, it's not like I'm leaving here and I'm like, oh God, WrestleMania. Ugh. It was just way too long. It was way too long of a show, and usually like I can maintain my stamina through a show, but golly, this was just. It was laborious after a while. Once Triple H and Batista got in there and started just like doing stuff, I was like, it's time to go home.
Well, like I remember halfway through the show, I sent out a tweet. I'm like, you know what? The pacing doesn't feel bad. I don't feel tired. I knew at that point there was maybe 7, 8 matches left, and then that didn't count the John Cena Elias segment. So I guess I mentally prepared myself for tonight. I knew this show was going to go really long. Of course, I'm an hour behind Eastern Standard Time, which is where you are, so it feels probably longer for you. But I kind of learned my lesson in the last 2 years when Doug and I would come on here and complain about the length of their shows. I know now that WrestleMania is just going to go long. It's just what they do. But I'm noticing a lot of, again, these were very quick snapshot hot takes on Twitter of people kind of saying like, whew, this is just too long, and maybe cut down on the matches. Like I feel like they want to put everybody on the card because they work so hard throughout the entire year, but I don't know.
Hey, you know what? That's what the Battle Royals for.
Yes.
Get the people on the card.
Pre-show.
You know, we don't need like I don't want to sound like first world problem snob here, but like 16 matches, like is it necessary? No. You know, and I was sitting there and I'm watching, you know, what's supposed to be one of the most important main events, I think, in wrestling history. And I don't think I'm being overly, you know, glorifying this match. Oh, you know, it really was. You know, the first time women have main evented a major North American show of this caliber, WrestleMania. And I'm sitting there going, God, Jesus, I can't wait. I just cannot wait for this match to end so I can go, so just get going. Because it's after 6.5 hours, but that's about what time it was when they started wrestling. 6.5 hours of show.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, we hadn't gotten up from our seats much. I just couldn't believe it. Like, you know, if this show was 5 hours even, 5 hours long, I'd have probably been amped. But once you start getting close to 10 hours of wrestling, it's like, I'm good.
I was asking on Twitter, and I didn't see my mentions yet, but I asked if it was a botch, and I saw your tweet as the show was closing that people live thought the main event was botched.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't really. I quickly rewound it. It didn't seem like because like to just end it that way seemed very scripted, but maybe that wasn't quite how they wanted it. Like, of course, I still feel like Becky was supposed to win this match, but maybe not.
Oh no. The botch came when she rolled her up for after the Piper spit. She did the roll up, and when she rolled her up, Ronda's shoulders came up, and the referee was still counting. And then they went back down, and then that was it.
Okay.
It was just like, oh no.
So maybe that
like of all times for that to happen.
There was a lot of oopsie moments. Andrew in the chat brought up Batista tripping as he got inside the ring tonight, which I felt so bad for him when he was. At first, I thought he tore his ACL or something. The way because he was kind of moving weird. He was moving very strange. And at first, I thought something was wrong, but yeah, oopsie poopsie.
Yeah, and I think he was really amped up for this match. It seemed like they put their working boots on, and they were quite physical with each other, but that match was just like, oh God, this just, I was watching it and we're just like, they're just doing stuff, they're trying to, like almost get like those like Jeff Hardy shock things, like when they were doing the thing with Jeff Hardy's ear and the ear gauge.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were just kind of just going like the smoke and mirrors were just like, okay, we just have to do like shock stuff now because there's really not much behind this match and there's not much they can do together. So.
If you're just,
it was like a collection of stuff happening.
If you're just joining us right now, we're talking to Mike Tedesco. We'll talk to Victoria Tedesco shortly. They attended WrestleMania live in East Rutherford, New Jersey. They were calling it the outskirts of New York City on television when they were doing the crowd shots. But it was weird. They were saying like this show was in New York. It was really in New Jersey, but that's the marketing machine behind these shows.
Oh yeah.
So I know we didn't get a chance to talk about too much, but what's your overall impression being there live? Did you feel like it was a good show? Do you think it was better than last year's WrestleMania? Because you were at WrestleMania last year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, I was there 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay, 33. I'm sorry.
I skipped last year.
You
I
did.
stayed home. It's not the best WrestleMania I've ever been to. It's not the worst one either. So. I think the worst one I ever went to was WrestleMania 29, which is also at MetLife Stadium. I think that one kind of stunk. But
now,
you know what? Like they opened up with like red hot Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, title change and Hulk Hogan coming out. I mean, like it really opened up great, and it did. You were right when you sent out that tweet. It was the first 2 hours really did kind of breeze by, and then I looked at my watch and I'm like, all things considered, we still have like 5 hours left.
Yeah, quite a
Holy
bit.
Crap.
And
so it's like it doesn't matter how well they pace everything out, and this could be like this is probably the perfect arrangement of matches, and this is probably the best that you could possibly do with 16 matches and 7 hours to fill. But no matter how well you pace it, it's still 7 hours of kind of redundant after a while. There's only so many spots you can see, only so many like, oh my God, that finisher kick out, that finisher kick out, that finisher. There's like no finisher safe at WrestleMania.
I'm looking at the poll question, which we always pose, and I would say it was unkind by any matter, but right now 79%. So still a lot of votes coming in, but it seems like fairly positive reaction to the show tonight.
Sure,
it's
yeah.
very, very early, of course.
I'm sure I would have liked it if I was home and you kind of like get up and move around and just kind of kibitz and this and that, and like we're sitting out here. It's a little chilly out tonight. It's just like I'm just drained. Like I have to like I need a day to like kind of decompress and kind of think about what I saw to really make a determination. But as of right now, I'm kind of like in the middle. It's not, like I said, it's not the best WrestleMania I ever went to. It's not the worst.
Weather seemed a lot better than the show many years ago, right?
What's that? I'm sorry?
The weather seemed like it was better, right?
Oh yeah, way better. This was it was actually a really nice spring day. We and if you were 2 days ago on Friday here, it was about 41 degrees, cold rain, sleet at times. I was like, oh my God,
Oh,
this is
boy.
going to be brutal. And it came through. It came through really nice. It was 66 at the start of showtime today. And it started gradually getting colder as the night goes on. But the rain held off. It's overcast all day, which was actually kind of nice. So the sun wasn't like beating on you the whole time too. The one thing that I really have to say about this WrestleMania, which really, particularly during the AJ Styles Randy Orton match, took away from it was that they had these like yellow and red lights shining on the crowd. I guess to create atmosphere, but it was shining so brightly in our section and multiple sections around the stadium. It was shining directly in people's eyes, and it's like you can't watch any of the screens to see what's going on because the lights were right there. And you can't see what's in the ring because the lights are also right there. So it's like I'm trying to watch wrestling while also staring into the sun.
And I think you sent the tweet out, and within a couple minutes they immediately turned the lights off. So
yes,
it definitely got back to them.
I sent out the tweet, and there was also chants of turn the lights off, or we can't see and stuff like that. So they started in all different sections all around the stadium. So they finally got it, which is kind of nice. But there were some sections I wish they turned the lights back on for, so they could just shut the hell up. They're so annoying.
I have. I'm gonna toss the tweet up on the.
I love wrestling except for the fans. I got to tell you.
Well,
really do.
That's always one of our gripes too. I put the tweet up on the screen here for those that are tuning in on YouTube, and you can see how bad it was. I mean, you could see, I'm gonna open this up. You can see the lights just like completely shining in on your entire. So was it like covering the entire upper deck when that was taking place?
Oh yeah. It was it was really brutal, and I'm not kidding around. I'm not over exaggerating when I say it took me about a half hour for my eyes to readjust. Because like you know when you look at like a light bulb, and then you blink your eyes and you can still see the bulb. It's like kind of burned in your retina for a little bit. I swear to God, it was about a half hour until I could blink again without really like having to adjust my eyes. It was unbelievable.
Well, they definitely heard the complaint, so that's good. At least they acted on it pretty quick.
Oh yeah. They took care of it. To their credit, they took care of it. But
that's
I just couldn't believe, even during entrances, the lights would shine directly in your face. But did nobody do a run through at night? I mean, they've been here for 2 weeks.
I don't know. I don't think it's funny. I don't know if they think about that kind of stuff, and they focus on eye level, maybe not that high up in the stands. I don't know, but yeah, maybe that's something they should hire production to think about.
They should, because it's been a running issue at the 2 years ago at 33. It was definitely an issue too. There was a couple of lights shining directly into the upper deck. I remember hearing chants for them to shut it off, and they actually never did.
Oh boy, that's not
so.
good.
But at least this year, I don't think there's going to be anything with obstructed view. I think they laid out the floor nicely, so there's no way that any of those LED pillars could have blocked anybody's view this year. So they got that down finally.
Well, do you mind if we speak quick with your better half to see what she thought about the show?
Oh yes.
Okay. We're going to talk
Absolutely. And by the way, I just want to announce that it is my better half's birthday currently right now.
Officially happy birthday to Victoria. So we'll get
officially April 8th.
We'll get the chat to blow it
here
up for
she
her.
is. Here's Victoria. And thanks for talking to me, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike Tedesco. We're going to be talking.
Hey.
Oh, there's Victoria. Victoria, how are we doing?
There I am.
Yeah, you survived.
I'm all right.
I'm all right.
I'm a little exhausted.
Yeah, and that's kind of been. Okay. It's like we all knew the show was going to go long. I'm pretty sure you went into the show tonight expecting the same, but it's still very, I think, surprising to people how long the show is at the end of the day.
Definitely, because you even when we came on the latter end of the day, because mostly people were tailgating, since like 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. So it's like we came in, we got here around like 4. So, but it is just a very long show, like in a very long, you feel like it's almost like a chore by the end of the night. You're like, okay, let me get out of here.
Is it, would it deter you from attending future WrestleManias because of the length of the show, or would it be different if this was more of like a destination vacation versus just kind of being kind of in your area where you live?
If it's in my area, I'll go. If it's not in my area, I'm no longer traveling to see it, if it's going to be this long.
Yeah.
There's no way. I can't, because then you have to, like, I'm a half hour from home. Not a big deal. There's other people who have hours, flights to make, and I don't know if I can do that. I really don't. Like, I thought, normally too, when I get here, I'm like, oh, I'm good, because the crowd, the environment around you. Like, I like a live event, but I think this year I would have preferred to be home, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, because I felt like you could just, well, let's put it this way. You could take off, you could do breaks, you could do whatever you need to do. But here, you're
stuck.
You're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And,
but you did get to see your boy The Miz live, though, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. You were, I don't know if you saw the picture that Mike got of you, but oh boy, was Victoria excited to see her some Miz tonight. So.
That is my Miz. That is my man.
You were a misfit.
I was so excited to see him. That was one where I was like really hyper, and I perked up. I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be great," because everybody else around me is sitting down on their hands, and I'm the only one like screaming and yelling for the Miz. So it was just, like everybody was people around me like, "It's gonna suck. They're gonna hate this," and whatever. But no.
Turned out really good, actually. I want to mention quickly too. You had a smorgasbord of happy birthday messages in the chat as we mentioned that.
Did I
so
really?
You did. So you'll have to go back and catch the replay and watch all those pile in. But so Mike,
thank you, everyone.
Mike was talking about some of the stuff that kind of bugged him about the show. I was kind of talking to him about how I felt the first 2.5 hours, the pacing felt pretty good. But I almost was like, oh no, am I jinxing myself saying this, because I knew that there was still a lot more to go. Being there live, you were just kind of mentioning that maybe it would have been more fun to just, stay at home and watch it in 4K or something like that. But was there anything that stood out to you that maybe you really liked, or something that really you just weren't feeling tonight? Because I know the main event had some people feeling a little underwhelmed, even though it was such a, important history-making situation.
Yeah, I mean, for that particular, that was the match I was most excited to see, for sure. But overall, like, my favorite match of the night was the Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, because it just had everything that you look for in a match. Because the progression of it, it's like slow in the beginning, but not slow to the point where you felt like you thought it was never going to pick up, or you were going to never be bored with it. And it just the whole thing, the whole dynamic from the crowd between Kofi with New Day and Daniel Bryan in general. He's just an amazing heel. And they both brought different aspects of the match that just really blew me out of the water. Because I wasn't expecting for that to be my favorite match tonight. I wasn't. I knew it would be maybe like a top 3, but I didn't think it would be the favorite. As far as the main event, which was the match I was looking forward to the most, I don't want to say underwhelming. I feel like that was just so extreme for me to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was disappointed.
Okay.
There were certain spots where I definitely was into it. I enjoyed it a lot. But the end with that botch, it just felt like you have this, incredible opportunity, an amazing historical event, and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it could have been a pay-per-view match, maybe not a WrestleMania.
I saw
like the way that they,
I saw one person, and I don't want this overwhelming opinion, but it is an interesting hot take, that some people thought putting this match in the main event was in a way kind of like sabotaging it, but I didn't really see it that way. I just thought that they were trying to put something last that had a lot of momentum, especially after the Royal Rumble. You could definitely make a case, and you and Mike have talked about this on Post Raw, about how the buzz kind of fizzled a little bit since the Rumble, when they were doing a lot of unnecessary things, and sometimes they do something really good and then something that would be kind of underwhelming. But I don't know if, like, sabotage, that feels a little conspiracy theory to me. But
yeah, I don't agree with that, and the reason why is because I think they're at the point where they are going to put what they feel is going to have what has the most interest, and this definitely piqued the interest of a lot of people, whether the outcome or not. I don't think they thought that, oh, well, now we can say that we don't have to put women again in the main event because they didn't live up to the expectations that everybody was asking for. I don't think it was that at all. I just think that, even past main events, like, people look forward to it, they're not necessarily always going to be what you expect, But I think it had potential to be this really amazing thing, but they probably put so much in for the previous weeks that it was like, what's left for us to wow these people with?
Yeah, that's a lot of, that's the other issue too, is when you also, there's almost like an atmosphere about WrestleMania now where, like, you see the giant set and you hear everyone like, oh my God, it's WrestleMania Sunday. And there's just so much hype built up for this show. And, it was interesting to listen to Chris Jericho talk about this recently, about how he did headline a WrestleMania, but he really wasn't the main event because the real main event was earlier in the show between The Rock and Hulk Hogan.
Right.
And that,
right.
And like, he was having a conversation too about how CM Punk was mad that he didn't get that main event slot, even though he had a match with The Undertaker, and they also had a match together at one point.
Exactly.
But it's almost like you want to be, but then when you've kind of watched the result of who headlines WrestleMania, there's always like a weird kind of vibe after the show's done, and it's almost like you don't want to close the show, even though it's considered a big deal.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, because especially with the length of these shows, and they're going to continue. I just have a feeling it's going to get even longer.
Yeah.
If that's possible. But I feel like that even though you're put in the main event, it's not necessarily going to be the match of the night at that point. Because the popular opinion was like even the people we were sitting with was Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston. Everybody was just so engaged into that match, and you really didn't. You had nobody who was like,
It's just.
But everything else.
It's kind of a bummer. I mean, because there was a lot of emphasis put on this to announce that this was, because there was obviously a lot of question what's going to close the show this year, and there was a lot of emphasis, and they made the big announcement, and they decided to go with the girls and how much they've done in the last year with the women's evolution. But I'm curious how this. I mean, obviously, tomorrow night's going to be interesting. I'm sure you guys will have more to say on Post Raw, which, by the way, I'm going to do a run-in and join you on Post Raw tomorrow night.
I heard. Yeah. I'm very excited.
Well, it's such that at Raw after WrestleMania has become kind of a gimmick in itself, and it just becomes so newsworthy, and stuff you don't see coming takes place. So we'll definitely talk more about WrestleMania tomorrow. I should let you and Mike talk more about it, since you guys will have had some time to kind of soak it in a little bit. Are you guys just like stuck waiting to try to leave the parking lot of the stadium right now?
Oh my God, it's awful, and I can't take stop and go traffic.
Well, you should ask Mike. When we tried to leave the stadium in Miami many years ago, we were just stuck, and we had to like find like a terrible cab service. Like, really, we did not. At least Mike has his shit together this time. Like, we did not plan well at all in Miami. Like, we figured out how to get there and how early to get there, and Doug wanted to have some booze, and then we planned that part really good, but the whole exit strategy was terrible. So at least you guys have, transportation, and you can kind of relax a little bit.
And exactly. And at least, like I said, we're half an hour away from home,
But it's going to take longer.
Like, there was another family who we actually, met up with, and, they were my brother's friend, and they left even before, like, right as the main event, they bolted. That was
really?
it. Like,
okay.
As soon as Becky Lynch went, and they had a 2-hour drive, so they were like, "Yeah, we gotta get out of here." And he's like, "My daughter's still tomorrow, so I gotta go."
I do not blame them.
I mean, I don't know if I got a picture of it, but the crowd went out so fast after he won. It was insane. Like, all those empty chairs at the bottom on the lower decks. I was like, "Oh wow, okay."
That's the one thing I hate about stadium shows, is like the mad rush, and that just that sounds awful. It's, in theory, it sounds fun to be there live and like take that in, but then you don't think about like the mad rush and the parking, and just it's insane.
Yeah.
No thanks.
No.
Might as well watch it on the network.
Thank you. Next.
Well, thank Mike for calling in earlier. Make sure you guys drive safe, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow night for Post Raw, and I'm sure you will have you'll have much more to say about attending WrestleMania live.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to having you tomorrow night. It's a special little treat for everyone.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we will talk to you guys tomorrow night. Drive safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for the birthday wishes.
All right. There we go. There it is. Mike and Victoria Tedesco live from, I guess they're in New Jersey right now, exiting MetLife Stadium for WrestleMania. Lewis goes, did you go to the MS? No, I am in Iowa. I did not venture to the East Coast, Lewis, I was originally going to, and it just did not work out with the schedule this year to go to WrestleMania. But Mike actually watched the MSG show. I only saw little clips on Twitter and stuff like that. So didn't get a chance to really take in the full Ring of Honor experience per se, but we'll definitely make that happen in the near future. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. But Mike, I know for sure, saw most of it. I would care to guess. I'm trying to conference in our guests on the panel, so just give me a moment here. There might be a little dead air as we make this happen. I also forgot that so Doug does this cool thing where he has a fancy backdrop. So I got to make sure I have a fancy backdrop for Doug, because Doug has to be Mr. Fancy Green Screen guy. So I'm trying to simultaneously edit his shot while we'll do this. But so we'll just do it live, as Doug does it quite a bit actually, which is great. He'll do this shit live. But Roy Nemer and who else is going to join us? And Douglas, and we were going to have somebody else, but we decided not to do that. So we'll bail on that idea. I think we got the boys in right now. Let me see. Let me go to the panel shot and see if I got this going here. Let me go back. Sorry, this is really fun to listen to. Douglas, Roy, are you guys there? Can you hear me? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Oh, it worked. Okay, beautiful. Oh, there we go, everybody. At some point, we should record what it's like to try to produce and talk into a microphone at the same time. I'm like a talking monkey on a floating rock, and I can do these multiple things. But I even successfully got a WrestleMania backdrop behind Douglas, although you can't really. It's a photo that Mike took, so yeah, it's kind of there. I can.
Well, that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's there. So there you go. So boys, long night, huh? Long show. Roy just slid back in because Roy was like telling me that he was going to try to get home at a decent time, but we ended up chatting with Mike and Victoria for a bit, so bought some time. But Roy was in a crowded room with a bunch of guys watching WrestleMania. Doug, I'm pretty sure you were by yourself.
I was all alone.
All alone. I was doing the
myself.
same thing. I had one person walk down here, take one look at what I was doing, and go like, "Jesus Christ, how long have you been?" It was Molly. She asked me how long I was doing this for tonight. But I guess so. I'll start with this, and I actually for once took like notes about the matches, because I feel like I get on here and I get so scatterbrained, and especially with, did we have like an official time of how long this was tonight? Was this?
Oh yes, I've got you.
Okay, how long was the show tonight officially?
Well, I actually, the time that I have for you are just match times.
Match times, okay, but we don't know an official. I mean, we know the.
If we want official, it ended at about 25 after midnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want an official time, it's about almost 5.5 hours.
Now that's the full show. That does not count the pre-show.
That is correct.
Isaac in the chat said 7 hours and 29 minutes we had for the full entire experience.
That's the full thing, but I'm talking just match times, okay? Because the number one complaint you'll get from this, and when a show goes on long, well, we didn't need to have this match. We didn't need to have that match, I want to give you a comparison.
Okay.
Last year's WrestleMania.
Yes.
Match times. I think I'm kind of looking at it here. I think in the main show, the main card, we had 10 matches.
Ooh, okay.
The main card's 10 matches lasted 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 58 seconds.
Okay.
This main card, we had, I believe it looks like 12 matches compared to 10.
I thought it was 13.
And the match times being 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 35 seconds.
Rough.
Only 15 minutes longer than the last WrestleMania, with 2 extra matches.
Okay.
All right. If you want to even throw the pre-shows in there, the pre-show matches last year, you had 3 that went for 38 minutes.
Okay.
This year, 4 matches that went 45 minutes. So any complaints right now about, matches per se, I don't know if those arguments can be made. Maybe specific matches shouldn't last as long, but you cannot really make the argument of, oh God, this show went so long. Well, you know what? Last year's WrestleMania almost went just as long.
And I knew, and the thing is, I knew it was going to go long. I knew this topic was going to be kind of unavoidable for us tonight because I mean, listening. So here the reason I'm starting with this conversation, I know it's just the conversation we tend to have after this WrestleMania show, but Mike is sitting there live in MetLife Stadium and literally tweeting, the crowd is dead for this main event. I know that they wanted to fit, a ton of matches on this card tonight, and they wanted to get as many people on there as they can, but is that a losing strategy for them in terms of the person who buys the ticket versus, and even the person who's watching on the network? I mean, I had over 5 texts from 5 different people saying I'm tapping out when the show had at least another hour and a half to go because it's just too long for people. Mm-hmm. I mean, is it just a losing strategy?
You want to take that one, Roy?
Yeah, I think at the stadium it's definitely a losing strategy because, I mean, how many bathroom breaks can you take? For me personally, I tapped out right before Baron Corbin against Kurt Angle. I napped throughout the entire match, didn't watch it, napped throughout the Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley match just so I could be ready and fresh and watch the main event. If you're at the stadium, you can't really do that. You're just kind of stuck there sitting and waiting. And I'll agree with Mike because what we saw, on television was that the crowd was dead for the main event. They just didn't care. And even when Cena came out, the crowd didn't care. Like they were just dead and they were just tired. And at home, yeah, you could use it. You could go to the bathroom. You could take a nap. You can take a phone call, whatever it is. But I feel like at the stadium, not so much. It's I'd say it's more of a losing thing than a winning thing. They definitely have to cut it down by at least 1 hour.
Douglas?
It is so difficult to really find a solution because, yes, number one, we want to try to cut down the time, but it seems to be more about the structure of the show than anything else. And when I mean structure, it's not just how you're booking each match. I'm not saying that having Bork Laser, Seth Rollins start off the show was a bad move. Absolutely not. It's just every single match needs to have some modicum of fascination to it. I'm not saying they have to have high spots and high spots to keep everyone engaged and keep everyone gassed throughout the entire show, but each one needs to be paced at a certain level. Okay. Is it good to have Rollins and Lesnar start off the show? Absolutely. Blasted right out of the gates. Everyone's at the edge. All right. WrestleMania times. Then AJ Orton, it came to a grinding halt with a 16-minute long grind fest. Okay, so right there, people are trying to adjust the adrenaline levels, I guess is the better way to put that. Then follow it up with the Usos 4-way. That can get everyone back into it. And yes, there were some great spots to get in there. Shane and The Miz on a 15-minute traveling around the stadium where people aren't reacting because they can't see it, that doesn't help.
Was that, speaking of that really quick, and not to interrupt, but was it a mistake to not toss the a lot of the action on the big screen on the stage? Because I know they wanted to show, hey, Doug, we have this big fancy WrestleMania logo, and we want everybody to see it, which is cute and everything, but if you're up, like I think back to, and I know we tell this story ad nauseum on this show, but when we were in Miami, and we couldn't see through the Hell in a Cell structure, so we were both staring up at this giant screen that was mounted normally anyway for football games. Did they make a mistake? Because I was watching that screen, and they were just keeping the fancy WrestleMania logo up there the entire time.
Oh, that was a bad move. No, bad move. But if you're thinking in reverse psychology in that, okay, this can be the time where everyone can grab a snack, that sounds fine, but it's way too early for it. You should have thought about doing that maybe 2.5 hours into the show, and not less than an hour into the show. It's just the pacing of the show is the hardest part. And that's the same. You can make the same argument for any pay-per-view that they have. And we see this in almost every pay-per-view where it's the main event. Everyone is gassed unless it's properly paced. And this show, horribly paced. I'm not saying that the main event was horrible. I'm sure it was a great match. If I had a clear mind, a clearly awake audience, and if I had a lead announcer who wasn't talking with gravel in his throat for the last 2 or 3 matches, I'm sure it would have been a great match. But it's sad to think that one of the most historic WrestleManias and your most historic main event is ruined by outside peripherals and not the match itself.
But sorry, not sorry, Doug, not to cut you off. But
No,
there's
you're
only
good.
so much. There's only so much you can pace after 5.5 hours. On
Right.
a 3.5 hour pay-per-view, sure, you could pace it out. Everything's good. But past the 4 hour mark, I don't care if it's properly paced at 100%. Everyone's just gonna zone out and fucking forget the whole thing.
Oh, right.
You know. And that's the problem. It feels like, hey guys, it's WrestleMania season, NXT, the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania. We're just gonna throw in 25, 30 matches, and it's gonna be the biggest WrestleMania ever. It's not gonna fucking work.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
didn't,
gonna
and the thing is, like, I didn't totally think the pacing was an issue. I guess you're right, Doug. As the show progressed, it got a little taxing. But the first, I was prepared to come on this podcast tonight and talk about how the first like 2 to 3 hours of the show just flew by because they just did match, and there was no break. There was maybe a small little backstage thing if they did do anything, but it was very very fast paced. And then I guess if I had to pinpoint where it started to dip for me was Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. I was on board with everything up into that match. And then that was followed by another dud in Batista and Triple H for me. And then you could even say Angle and Baron Corbin was kind of a dud. And then Lashley and Finn felt that we had to hurry up and get this because we promoted this. And then before you know it, main event time. The pacing of everything up until Roman and Drew was great. And I was fully prepared to come on here and talk about that and be like, man, this feels weird. Like normally the pacing of these shows just drags. But yeah, ultimately it came back and did it, but it usually does, where it just kind of go, oh, I forgot. It's
WrestleMania.
It's WrestleMania, and I don't know who to pin that on. Is that the intentional design of the Roman Reigns Drew McIntyre match? Is it Triple H? Dude, you know, for as talented as Triple H is in terms of his approach to wrestling, the way he runs NXT, the way he understands talent, his in-ring stuff now, I mean, I wrote this in my notes. It's approaching Undertaker levels with me, where at one point we were like, all right, we get it. Like after the Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar, I was ready to just be like, okay, that's it. We're done. We're and again, we didn't get any Undertaker tonight, which was a first in a long time. But Triple H for me is hitting that mode of like just bringing shows to a screeching halt. And I saw some people, and I guess we can kind of start there and we'll move around, but a lot of people liked Batista Triple H because they liked that, okay, it's like one guy's 50, another guy's almost 50. I remember there's a lot of that stuff. They're older, so therefore they are going to gas, therefore they have to use weapons and to mask that a little bit. But I don't know, man. From Batista tripping, in my notes I wrote smiley Triple H doing stuff with pliers was kind of cute, which I liked. But then that got kind of weird later too. They took some crazy bumps. I mean, they were doing stuff they probably shouldn't be doing at their age. But even like the Ric Flair interference, like I know it served a purpose from a storyline standpoint, but I don't know, man. I wasn't feeling that match at all, and that's obviously Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, where it started to dip for me even before that. But I really was not feeling Batista Triple H, and I'm kind of disappointed to say that because I was actually looking forward to seeing what they could kind of do, but I didn't like it, not at all.
I don't understand how you start off the match by being a sick fuck, and then we just go into the typical wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you started off this thing with tools to use on parts of your body. You've already started this at a gruesome point, and you're like, oh, God, man, What in the heck is on his mind? Oh, well, never mind. Now we're going back to steel stairs and steel chairs, and here comes the sledgehammer again. And well, Batista gets his in, but he can't be as sick as Triple H. I don't know why. That match, and I'm looking at the match times again, that did not warrant being the longest match of the night.
Oh, no. Was that really the longest match of the night?
Was it really?
It was 25 minutes long.
Holy shit.
24 3/4 if you want to be specific.
Oh, my God.
There is no excuse for that.
Yeah. So is that with the entrances?
That is just bell to bell.
Oh,
not even counting the entrances.
Not even
bell
counting
to bell.
Oh,
okay.
No. That's
okay,
bad.
that's what I'm talking about, these ring times. Okay, this is not counting the entrances. If you want to count entrances for this show, if you just took the entrances alone, it probably takes up about 45 minutes to an hour of the show.
Okay.
Seriously, it does. So just this match, there is no excuse for this match to be 25 minutes long. None whatsoever. I don't understand how, and I'm right there with you, Adam. This guy produces NXT. We watched NXT TakeOver, granted with me being angry that I got to take shots at tequila because of wrestling, But he produces a really good wrestling show with great psychology and everything, great storytelling. But man, when he gets into a ring, it's almost like the drafter has dressed it up this great building, and then he gets over to build the building and he's using the wrong end of the hammer. I mean, how is that possible? I really don't get it. Unless he's got all these great ideas in his head, but they just don't fly when he actually does them.
Roy, I think I know what you're going to say when I ask this question.
Go ahead.
But is the old man pace a good excuse for this match, or are we entering like there's no reason for Triple H to be wrestling in 2019, really?
There's no reason. I think Adam and I, we spoke about this last time I was on the show. I said, I fucking hate that we're going to have, inevitably we're going to have that Batista Triple H match at WrestleMania just because it's going to suck. We got this match 14 years ago. That's 14 freaking WrestleManias ago. We had it. We're getting it again. Build up wise to the storyline. Okay, Ric Flair makes sense, all that stuff. But the match itself there's no way. It's gone, like, we're past the point of no return with Triple H in terms of his matches. It's Undertaker pace. It's very slow. The match itself kind of, I'm with Doug in the sense of it started off hardcore, using the tools, all that stuff. And then it just kind of died down. Batista's 50. Literally during Batista's entrance, when he tripped through the ropes, I was watching with a friend of mine, with Dano, who Adam knows. And Adam took off his phone. He said, Siri, how old is Batista? And it said, Dave Batista is 50 years old. And you're like, shit, like 50 years old. And I was like, okay. And then Michael Cole said, last time Batista had a match was 5 years ago. And last time Triple H was an active member of the roster was about 5 years ago. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, but why are we having this match then? Like, what's the point? Literally, forget, I'm not talking storyline-wise, but what's the point of having this on the show? WrestleMania would have been fine without having Triple H against Batista.
Yeah, and
they're making the money anyways. They don't need it.
And I kind of have to eat crow a little bit because I remember talking about this with Doug, and even we talked about it the night of SmackDown 1000. SmackDown 1000. Mm-hmm. And I loved the promo that they did together. I thought, like, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. And then as the time wore on and we got more promos from them on television, Batista's like became like a meme for like weeks of like, give me what I want, and it just got silly, and it was strange. Like the interaction they had at SmackDown 1000 was really, really good, and they tried to replicate. Obviously Triple H, his goal for a long time has been to have a match with The Rock at WrestleMania, and I just don't think The Rock is interested in having a match at WrestleMania right now. And I don't know if he is ever again after he completely tore the muscle off of his like hip. I think that's what happened in the match with Cena at MetLife many years ago. So I don't know. And again, he had that little quick one in the Cowboy Stadium, but Triple H has been kind of like, I think he's been holding out to have that Rock match. I don't think it's going to happen. So I was actually kind of curious if they were just going to pull the trigger and end his career tonight. Obviously they didn't do that, but Yeah, I cannot believe, Doug, that was the longest match, and you're just talking bell to bell, not including the Mad Max entrance and the Trippy Batista entrance.
I'm not talking about the Mad Max entrances. I'm not talking about the limousine entrance or the video leading up to it. I'm just talking bell to bell. That was 25 minutes long.
Whew, that's rough.
Do you realize there were some Undertaker matches that we had that were less than that?
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's scary.
That's uncalled for. Here, case in point, last year's WrestleMania, longest match of that was the Kurt Angle Ronda Rousey tag against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, but that lasted only 20 minutes, 20 and a half, and that's bell to bell. Not counting entrances or anything like that. So I don't understand how this warranted that much. This should have easily been only 12 minutes long. Half of the stuff that happened in this match should have been cut out. How much offense did Batista need to get in? How much offense did Triple H need to get in? Think about how much would have been cut away from this match if we didn't have the toolbox brought out. Okay. Think about how much would have been used if we didn't have so many sledgehammers in this damn match. The whole match was completely disjointed. To me, it almost looked like they were on the fly. They had the steps and the chair and the sledgehammer spots in mind, and Triple H just went, "Hey, Dave, I got this great idea. Why don't you put on a slip-on nose ring?" Okay.
Hey, Dave.
Dave, put on that shiny blue thing that you had on last time. I got an idea.
I was just waiting, by the way, Doug, in the chat. I was waiting for Brian Farmer to come in hot with a Triple H comment about, because there was a lot of butthurt over Triple H beating Sting with the WCW was the greatest promotion of all time crowd. Because Brian Farmer is like a card-carrying member of that, and that's cool because Brian has always been about WCW. Mm-hmm. But there was so much butthurt about the way Sting was brought in, how his first feud was with Triple H, and then he loses to Triple H, and there was the NWO DX, slugfest at that show.
But then hugs afterwards.
And then there was hugs, but yeah, there was a lot of people that took issue with the way and there's a Untold episode airing about how nervous Sting was about that match, but there was a lot of controversy of why is Triple H going to be the first dude to have the match with Sting. But I know we talked about it earlier, but I have to go back to how we were just talking about Batista going kind of viral and becoming memes. Fucking Miz's dad putting up the Dukes tonight.
Oh my God!
It is traveling, and Doug had a good one. I'm gonna put Doug's up on the screen first.
Yeah, mine just fucking blew up.
Yours said, girlfriend, hun, when is your WrestleMania thingy over? And you said me, and it's Mr. Miz putting the Dukes up. The other one that destroyed me, which I also retweeted, was Barstool Sports saying me after precisely one locally crafted microbrew of IPA, and it's just Mr. Miz putting the Dukes up. But man, Mr. Miz is a popular boy after tonight, so that's been a good time. So at least there was some fun to be had while people were watching WrestleMania. But that one was traveling. I had people sending me messages on Instagram like, "What's the context of this?" And of course, like, I'm just like fucking meanie. I'm like, "I'm busy right now. Leave me alone." And I'm trying to recap the show.
I was seeing photoshopped images of Mr. Miz facing off against Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Every single fighting video game you could think of, I found a meme of him doing that.
Oh, Mr. Miz is great. I always talk about it, but I so wish I can play the Dad Miz Titantron that someone made on YouTube. It's just so great.
It's now official. He's a superstar now.
He's a superstar.
They have got to put it in there now.
He's 100% a superstar. So I talked about the main event with Mike and Victoria. I've already said my piece. Roy, I'll start with you really quick, and then we'll kind of talk about some other stuff in the show. There was some talk of like botched finish, crowd being a little quiet. From a positive standpoint, which I didn't get to say too much with Mike and Victoria, I loved the Charlotte Flair circling MetLife Stadium in the helicopter. I liked Ronda's entrance. I even liked Becky's simplicity of her entrance, of the big screen just saying the man and people holding up the man signs. But the crowd, I mean, Mike was there and he took in the atmosphere. He said it was quiet. Obviously, this is a long show, but Doug just gave us some context with some numbers. But what was your takeaway? I mean, this was history in the making, but was that kind of did that not play a role anyway because of how the execution of the match went tonight?
It it fell flat, to be honest with you. Forget the crowd. I know the crowd was dead and all that stuff. That's understandable. But the match itself, like I said, fell flat. There was a lot of botches. I was surprised of the amount of bumps that Ronda took. I felt like all the major bumps in that match were taken by her, aside from the table spot by Charlotte, and even that was kind of botched. Uh, I don't mind if the match is not too good, as long as the ending kind of like, hey, it was a good ending. It's all right, kind of makes up for it. But the match wasn't that good to begin with, and the ending just seemed botched. Literally, when the referee counted to three and Becky won, I looked at my friend and he looked at me. He's like, "Wait, like this is it," you know. And on TV, you could kind of see, at least for fall number one, Ronda's shoulders were not on the mat, and that left a lot of confusion. I don't know if it was purposely done for storyline wise or it was once more a botch. I don't know. The match itself wasn't pretty. They tried. The effort was there. The bumps were there. By all three ladies, more so by Ronda, but it fell flat, and I don't know if that's after sitting through 5 hours of wrestling or not, but it wasn't. They're like the TLC match that Becky had with Charlotte blew this one out of the water. The match that Charlotte had against Asuka last year at WrestleMania blew this one out of the water, and that's just off the top of my head. This one it was missing something. I don't know if they were trying to do too much or whatever it was, but I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. I'm a big fan of the women's division. I'm a fan of Becky's. I like Charlotte. Ronda, I like what they're doing with their character recently, the past couple of weeks, turning into a badass and, not taking no shit from anyone. I really wanted to enjoy this match. I just didn't, for whatever reason.
Doug, did you have the Becky pick, or are you taking more shots on the WrestleView Weekly?
Well, actually, I didn't do too bad on my locks.
Oh, okay. I hope Becky was one of them.
Well, there were 15 matches that I tried to predict for WrestleMania. Apparently, they announced a Raw tag team title match that I said they would never have, and I would take a shot because they wouldn't be. Well, I'm taking a shot because of that crap. So, yeah, there's one. All of WrestleMania, this one, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We went 11-5.
That's not bad.
Not bad, but 2 of my losses were locks. What were those? I had Lacey Evans winning the Women's Memorial Battle Royal. I thought she was going to be a surprise entrant.
Oh no! Well, she showed up tonight, but she didn't wrestle. But
she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also had locked that Kurt Angle was going to win.
Oh boy, I saw your GIF reaction on the Twitters and
Corbin clean on Angle.
Yeah.
Wow, did that trigger everybody?
Let's talk about that a little bit because obviously, there was controversy from the very beginning of going with Baron Corbin, and I remember I was listening to Mike talk about this on Post Raw, where even he noticed it was like when Kurt Angle said Baron Corbin, and just as the N in Corbin left his lips, he knew there was going to be like a boo. So he's like, no, hold on a second. And he was trying to convince the audience of, there's a reason why I'm picking this guy because of all the bullshit I had to put up with him on Raw and all that stuff. But there was this like slight idea. I saw it on Twitter. People were like, okay, clearly he's going to beat Baron Corbin in like 2 minutes, and then John Cena is going to come out. And then John Cena will have a match with Kurt Angle instead. They obviously went in a completely different direction. They had John Cena show up as Doctor of Thugonomics and beat up Elias again, which we've already seen many times. But again, is it bad to send Angle packing with a loss when, this is the retirement? Obviously, Baron Corbin's an odd choice. Even I think it's an odd, I get it from a storyline perspective, but this is your biggest show of the year, and you go with Baron fucking Corbin. And I don't even think Baron Corbin's bad. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I don't think he's bad on the promo. I just don't get positioning this on this show when you could have done, anybody really else that had relevance to his. It was weird because they knew that. They were pairing him on this retirement tour strategically with people that he had a history with. And they still went with Baron Corbin, and they were determined.
He has a history with Baron Corbin, honey.
He does, but no one really. But that came at a time when interest in that show was at an all-time low, and it just I don't know.
Honey.
I hate
how many people. I'm sorry, I don't like calling you honey, but I love doing it sarcastically.
No,
here.
it's fine.
How many of those people that remember all of those feuds that Angle had are still watching the product now?
No, I totally agree with that. But you're still telling me that Baron Corbin's a good choice at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
Oh, I totally disagree. I just, and you saw the reaction.
And I'm not saying it because I want to be a troll.
No. And again, I think I understand why you do, because you saw that crowd reaction, because they instantly had cameras fixated on sections of the crowd tonight that were going like, what? And they obviously wanted that reaction, and but it felt very much like, fuck these people. We'll tell them how. And I was like, ugh, like, you don't have to do that with this. Like, you don't.
All right. Roy, do you want to take his side, or you're going to take my side?
Yeah, Roy, take my side.
Yeah, take a side. And there's no thumbs in the middle.
Pick a side, Roy.
Who's going to pay me more?
Doug will just pay you in booze.
No.
I'll just send you some booze. How about that?
Perfect. That's good. I'll go. I'm with Doug on this one. I'm with Doug. No, look. Honestly, I'm gonna have to side with Adam. Sorry.
Oh shit!
As much as I want, I'm gonna side with Adam. Yeah, I understand why they did it.
I knew you'd fucking swerve. I knew you would.
It's a Nemer thing. I'm sorry. No, I get why they went with Corbin, but at the same time, it's the less said about it, the better. Let's put it that way.
It created a weird vibe for me, Doug. I think that's the problem with it. Like, yes, I get why it makes sense, but the vibe was weird. It was just, I don't know, like even going with somebody that you could have a little bit of fun with, that you could tease because they didn't even really tease like the false finishes too much. It was, and maybe the other issue too is, and Mike has talked about this on Post Raw, is it's hard to watch Kurt wrestle right now because his body is just a shell of itself, and that's another issue too. Like, the thing is, in a way, I will agree with you in that I was not expecting Kurt to just be firing off on all cylinders tonight, having this crazy awesome match. Just the fart of him announcing that was so massive of just like Baron Corbin, like. And again, maybe I built it up too much in my head, Doug, too. Like, maybe that this is me booking myself into a corner. Mm-hmm. But when I heard that, I went like, what the fuck? I mean, if you're going to, and again, and I said this on Twitter, most people don't get the WrestleMania send off. So really at the end of the day, whether he wins or loses is not my issue. I just questioned the dance partner. And again, that's coming from somebody that doesn't think Baron Corbin's very bad. A lot of people really, really dislike Baron Corbin. Yeah. I don't know. It just, I wasn't a fan. Didn't enjoy it too much.
Well, I'm not saying that the match was great.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, I'm only talking about the booking and the programming and the storytelling going into the match and why we're having it. Sure. That's all fantastic. I am all for it. Oh man, everyone's pissed. Do it.
Yes.
Okay, because by God, I love it when the WWE trolls us. Okay, I just love it. Because you get that reaction from everyone, and that's what you're wanting. The match, holy crap, I couldn't tell the difference between that match and any other match on Monday Night Raw, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's not terrible. All right, it's not awful.
And what's more, as we were talking about the ages of performers, Kurt Angle's 50 also.
Yeah, he's an old boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not, and so I guess the only fantasy booking I had in my head was that I thought at some point this was going to be a tag team match.
Oh,
where it would be Baron Corbin and Elias going against Kurt Angle and John Cena, because Elias is wanting to do a concert. Out comes Kurt Angle saying like, no, this is my final time and you're taking up too much time. It's my time. Out comes Baron Corbin, gets double teamed, and out comes John Cena to save the day. And we have a nice little tag team match. Alexa Bliss could have been more of a host if she did that.
Yeah, even the Alexa Bliss stuff was like her introducing Hulk Hogan.
By the snap of her fingers, she can trigger the internet.
She can trigger Hulkamania apparently with the snap of her finger.
Yeah,
that was kind of. Did you like Hulk Hogan trying to make fun of himself and then still screwing up again, calling it Metlife Center? Like, that was wonderful too. It just happened. Sorry, Hogan. I think he's just a nervous boy. He talked about, when I did that conference call ages ago, he talked about being so nervous at WrestleMania 30. And maybe he just, the nerves get to you a little bit. He's a nervous
It
boy.
freaking says MetLife Stadium right in front of him.
It
It's
fucking
I've been
says
to
it.
MetLife Stadium before,
I know.
more than once. It's
Yeah.
fucking it's there.
He just panicked, when some people get on the mic and they're just like, "Oh well, something, Roy brother," and he just gets very nervous, can't help himself. By the way, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much did Paul orgasm when Bret Hart walked out with Natalia and Beth Phoenix tonight? Was he an excited little boy in Montreal?
It was, oh man, hold up, man. Let's put up the volume, man. Let's hear the ovation, man. Let's hear the pop, man.
He made me cringe when he did a report on Wrestleview last night, and he just railroaded in Bret Hart, considered to be one of the greatest WWE superstars of all time. And I'm like, would you write that for anybody else? And then he just laughed. He just did LOL back to me. So I'm like, he's just such a homer.
You're lucky he wrote considered to be one of the best and not the best.
I know. I promptly erased that from the report, and he hasn't said anything to me yet. But I was like, Jesus, Paul. He just
probably hasn't realized.
He just can't even help himself. I want to kind of bounce around a little bit because I know it's very late for you guys. It is approaching, it's approaching 2:00 in the morning your time. So I will be more prompt here, but I wrote notes. I'm going to blast through some of this shit, and then I'm going to toss it to each of you, and you can kind of toss in some of the stuff that we haven't talked about. I loved opening with Lesnar and Rollins. I thought that was an awesome call. I loved Paul Heyman, by the way, just doing the power walk next to Hulk Hogan and being just so annoyed, like, this fucking guy, what's he doing here? And I thought that was great. I was watching what was going to be the second match very closely, mainly because I was fascinated by what Chris Jericho said a few weeks ago on the Off the Rope show, where he was talking about how Vince McMahon fucking hated the Kevin Owens Chris Jericho match from 2 years ago at WrestleMania. And Vince called it the worst WrestleMania match he's ever seen in his entire life, which is, that's Vince in the moment being pissed. And Jericho was like, I didn't think it was that bad. And then Jericho talked about matches that he had at WrestleMania that he thought sucked, that were far worse than the match with Owens. But he was talking about how that the second match on the show can sometimes be really, really hard. And that you follow the opener, which obviously the crowd was just so pumped to see Lesnar Rollins. And it's really hard to follow that up. I thought Randy Orton and AJ Styles did a really good job, and they did not have that issue. So there was that distraction of the lights, which Mike talked about earlier, which they ended up fixing. But I thought they were able to overcome that. Very pleasantly surprised by two things. Shane versus The Miz. I thought that match was going to suck, and it ended up being really good, mainly because I'm so happy to see complete douche dick Shane McMahon back. And I'm referring to Shane McMahon Attitude Era Mean Street Posse Shane, where he just kind of had it was that's the Shane I grew up on, of Mean Street Posse Shane, that was just a total douche. And it's just so nice to see that Shane back, and the bumps he took tonight. I mean, that dude how old is Shane? Is Shane almost 50 or is he over 50? Can we Google that?
Google this right now.
Magical Google machine.
Google, tell us, please.
He is 49.
He's almost, so again, we have another almost 50-year-old dude taking crazy bumps. So kudos to him. I was super surprised to see the Iconics win tonight. I did not think they were going to win. So I
called that one. Yeah.
Oh, you did call that one. Interesting. Okay. Then props to Douglas on that. And I loved the WWE title match. I thought that was awesome. Yes. I loved how they messed with the crowd, where they kind of started it a little bit slower, but then they had the ground stuff between Kofi and Daniel Bryan tonight was just off the charts awesome. So if you didn't see that match, I highly suggest going out of your way to see that. I thought that was really executed well. And congratulations to Samoa Joe for having his WrestleMania moment that lasted, 1 minute?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Yeah.
2 minutes.
I was in total homer mode on Twitter.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 minute. Exactly.
Was it exactly 1 minute?
It was exactly 1 minute.
Okay. So, and a lot of people didn't realize this, but he's been signed to the company since 2015, 16 or something like that.
He's been with the company, main roster, 3 years.
3 years. And every time WrestleMania would roll around, he would get injured, either right before WrestleMania or the months prior to WrestleMania, which would put him well beyond being able to be on the card. And so he finally gets on the card, And I'm assuming the match went really fast tonight because Rey Mysterio kind of messed up his ankle on Monday. And they've trudged forward with the match, but he still got his WrestleMania moment, so I thought that was cool. But those are some of my little quick hot takes.
Samoa Joe considered one of the greatest wrestlers ever.
I love Samoa
Joe. Are you gonna put that in the review?
No, I won't do that. I like Samoa Joe, but I won't be biased like Paul.
Okay.
I'll hold back on that. Doug, what are some of your WrestleMania hot takes that we have not talked about yet?
My WrestleMania hot takes is, I can do without Finn Balor for a long time.
The Demon,
but I'm only saying that just because I'm just really tired of him.
Are you tired of the Demon or normal Finn?
Just both. Okay. Though I do want to give credit for one thing. When this is the Demon Finn Balor, and he's got the big entrance and the weird makeup and all of that. And kudos to Bobby Lashley for finding his Michael Jackson Thriller contact lenses to put in, because that's as far of a demon as he will get. So, and that's fine. I thought that was really cool. The props I want to give though with Balor though is you could tell differences in the moveset. It seemed like we always had this notion that there was no difference physically or between segments or sets or anything like that within a match between the regular Finn Balor and the guy dressed up as a comic book guy Finn Balor. There were distinct move differences between the two, and it was shown in the match. And I was hoping that's what they would show in this match, because if they just had regular Finn Balor with makeup doing the same damn stuff that he'd been doing for the past 3 months against Bobby Lashley, then there's no point to having a demon or a regular Finn Balor. And that really erases all of the storytelling they've been telling about Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley, in that Finn Balor cannot beat Bobby Lashley if he's normal. Okay, so it's great that they made those distinctions in that match. I guess also, not just does Samoa Joe deserve kudos for a WrestleMania moment, it's about damn time the Usos did.
Yeah.
I mean, Usos have been doing this tag team thing for nearly a decade. Okay. They've been tag team champs, Lord knows how many times, going into a WrestleMania and never been on the main show. And they finally got on the main show as champs, and they got to keep the belts as champs. In actually a pretty entertaining four-way, where we keep talking about match times and everything. It was a nice little 10-minute match that I'm sure you couldn't tell the difference between it and any other match you would see on a B pay-per-view or a SmackDown. But damn it, it's on WrestleMania. Just give them a break with that one. And it was a pretty fun match. And dear God, Aleister Black and Ricochet have got to be rolling in some dough this week. All right. They went for the Raw titles last Monday. They went for the NXT tag titles on last Friday. Then they went for the SmackDown titles tonight. I mean, these guys deserve a break. Okay. Sometime soon. I don't know when, but probably won't be tomorrow because it's the Raw after WrestleMania. So, yeah.
Roy, I know it is getting very late, but do you have any hot takes you would like to pass along to everybody?
Yeah. Disappointed in Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre. Ooh. I thought McIntyre came off looking very weak in that match. I don't know if it was the ending or what. I was expecting more from that. If he's not main eventing pay-per-views by the end of the year, there's something wrong with the company. Big fan of McIntyre. I thought he came off very weak tonight. Very happy for Kofi, very happy for the New Day. I remember it was maybe 2-3 years ago when half the roster was injured, and it was basically New Day all over Raw, all over SmackDown. And, they were the ones kind of carrying the show at one point. So very fucking happy for them. I'm going to touch on what Doug said in regards to the Usos, because they were considered a joke of a tag team about 2-3 years ago, with the wild face paint, the red, yellow, blue face paint, whatever it was. And then when they lost that, turned heel, they've been rocking it. They've been doing very, very well. They finally got on the main WrestleMania show, I think it was last year finally. Good on them to actually being able to defend the titles and retaining them this year. Predictable WrestleMania, though. Outcome, the results were very, very predictable. Only things I got wrong, I got 3 matches wrong. which were I had Aleister Black and Ricochet winning the tag titles, and I had two other matches I can't fucking remember, but predictable WrestleMania in terms of results. Very, very happy with it though. Don't get me wrong, just way too fucking long. Hot takes for the night, not much, but there it is.
So there's some hot takes there from Douglas and Mr. Nemer. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's really anything else we didn't get a chance to cover. Obviously, I wanted to get in some stuff with Mike and Victoria since they were there live. And, general vibe was kind of people getting burnt out. No, go for it.
No, sorry, I was going to say happy for the Iconics as well, because there's those tag titles needed someone new. I know they only had them for about, what is it, a month and a half, 2 months, but Iconics are a good tag team. Funny on the mic. I enjoy them. The fans are getting behind them. And it gives them something fresh, something new to do. Sasha and Bayley have fought every fucking tag team under the sun. And give it to the Iconics. Let them run with it. I think it'll be fun.
Absolutely. I got some flack on Twitter for giving some thumbs up to the Iconics. Mainly it was Mace, because Mace is from Australia. And he's not a fan of the Iconics. But I didn't see it coming. But apparently Doug did, because Doug had that in his picks. So yeah. Doug's a smart boy. I'm going to go back to the Twitter machine, see what people are thinking. Still 77% thumbs up for the show tonight, 23% thumbs down. So I would say general vibe, people liked the show. We can quickly kind of go to the live chat right now. People joining us on YouTube. I'm also pleasantly surprised how many people are joining us live this late. So give a thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat with how you're feeling. But based on the Twitter machine, a lot of people like the show tonight from Metlife Stadium. Next year is in Tampa Bay. They will be doing some pirate-themed whatever. Yeah. It's going to... The promo was a little goofy. I was not a fan.
We have a scurvy on a pole
scurvy, but Kari Sane will be perfect for that, and if they bring back Paul Burchill. So far in the chat, thumbs up from Brian, thumbs up from Mr. Farmer, thumbs up from William Walker.
Concubine title.
Arr. Hayden Barker, thumbs in the middle. Andrew, thumbs up. Anthony, 3 thumbs up. Bronx, thumbs up. I thought Bronx was going to hate the show, so that's surprising. Quentin, thumbs in the middle. Corey, thumbs up. Ashley is talking about Kari Sane. Lewis James with the first thumbs down. Bam, thumbs down. Daniel, thumbs up. So it's, I would say leaning towards thumbs up, but there's a few people that didn't like the show. But it's wrestling. Everyone has a thought, but it was a very long show, but that's going to be the new WrestleMania vibe, I think, going forward. Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here, I want to mention tomorrow night, we will be back with Post Raw. Mike Tedesco, Victoria Tedesco. I'm doing a run-in. I believe, unless plans change, Paul Nemer is also going to be on that program. So that'll be interesting. Of course, the Raw the night after WrestleMania is becoming quite newsworthy. It's become, for a while, it became like a gimmick, but they didn't really... Well, I hesitate to say they didn't do big stuff, because the last show after MetLife Stadium, what was it, 5 years ago, they did the Dolph Ziggler cash-in on Del Rio. Mm-hmm. But like last year, there was a bunch of people like Bobby Lashley showing up. I feel like there's a lot of like new names and debuts last year.
The big one was when we went to WrestleMania and Bork Laser showed up.
And Bork Laser, yeah, exactly.
2012. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, weird, interesting things happen on the Raw after WrestleMania, especially after people have had plenty of sleep.
Exactly, and no Undertaker, notes Chris in the chat room. Yes, this was first WrestleMania since what? WrestleMania 19? No, he was on 19 and 18 and 17. I thought there was a show he missed with an injury.
2000, I think.
Was WrestleMania 2000 the one he missed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was 2000. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Can you imagine if Undertaker were on this show? This show would have lasted 6.5 hours.
Yes, it would have been the entrance.
Okay, so.
Exactly.
Don't hate on the Undertaker, okay?
Don't hate. Appreciate. Right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get out of here. Before we do that, Roy, I got your text.
Okay.
I texted something to Doug. I'm trying to decide if I want to be vague or if I want to say we'll talk more about it. But it just dawned on me that Doug will not be on Post Raw tomorrow night.
Oh, I bet I could bomb.
You could bomb. Do you know what? Should we just have you bomb?
I can bomb.
I didn't know if you were available.
I can throw bomb.
We could have you bomb. That's a lot of people on one show, but we could have you bomb.
I can shut up and bomb. How about that?
You could do that. You could do. I wanted to make sure you were going to be around. So and Roy, I was telling you this. We all had a conversation. No one's going to be watching this live because of how late it is. We have a lot of people watching live still because it's very late. So I'm going to leave this up to you two gentlemen. Yay or nay? I'm gonna sit yay or nay on right now. Should I wait? Give it a couple hours. Yay or nay?
If not,
well, go ahead. You got it.
Sorry. I was just gonna ask. If not tonight, would it be tomorrow?
Yeah, but I was gonna say something during the day tomorrow.
I think it would be better during the day.
Okay, so we'll be making
it would be better during the day, so then you can give an actual vocal statement.
Yes, and then we'll talk more about it on Post Raw. But watch the Wrestleview Twitter and my Twitter tomorrow, and so that's something to look forward to tomorrow, or technically today because it's Monday, with how late this show went. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. I will say thank you to both of you gentlemen for staying up super freaking late tonight. Super late, but we kind of knew that going into the show it was going to be this way. But thank you for hanging out. Thank you to Mike and Victoria Tedesco for calling in to the show from MetLife Stadium. We appreciate that. Mike obviously killing it for us all weekend on Twitter when he was at the Takeover show. He also covered the Hall of Fame for us last night and didn't attend, but covered the show. And then, of course, all his coverage on the Twitters this evening. So we are going to go to bed. Yes, Quentin, we're going to bed. We're going to relax.
All right, Dad.
Exactly. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night for Post Raw. So Roy, Douglas, thank you very much, sirs. And we will talk to everybody tomorrow evening. Bye. Oops.